I have a problem. I'm an enthusiast, and one of those things that I'm an enthusiast about are push bikes. And it's new bike day. How good is that? Hey guys, I'm Daryl. Welcome to the channel. Yes, new bike day. Who doesn't like new bike day? I've bought a Norco Range VLT A2, which is their aluminium frame, bottom of the range e-mountain bike. We'll go over all of that in a moment. However, to preface all that, I've been an avid cyclist, or slash rider is the new term, since I was probably 12. At that point of time, it was pre-BMX, so yes, I am that old. We were getting dragsters, putting motorcycle handlebars on them, knobby tyres and single seats, and braking frames regularly by jumping them. Moved from then on to BMX bikes, mountain bikes of all different descriptions, got into road cycling, not racing, just long distance road cycling. My last road bike was a couple of year old Cervelo S3 with DI2. Loved that thing to bits. And my mountain bike at the same time was a much older 26-inch pivot Firebird that had XT grip set and 167 millimeters of travel. That was an awesome bike, and I've sold it to my daughter's partner, which I'm hoping he enjoys. Now, I originally looked at e-mountain bikes when Marita first brought out their dual suspension external battery model. Took one for a test ride, and it was like, oh, this is what I do now. It was just blew my mind that I could ride up these hills that I wouldn't be able to get up without having a coronary at the top on my normal pedal bike. So at that point of time, it was very hard to keep my wallet in my pocket when I went back to the shop. However, I was looking at it thinking, these things are going to evolve and evolve very quickly, so maybe I'm best off just to step back for a few years. And evolve they have. Recently, when I've got serious about buying a bike, I've taken a Specialized Levo and a Specialized Levo SL for a ride. I did take the SL back to the shop and say, not for me. However, I think if you're a dedicated cyclist and were quite fit, you would like the lightweight of that and the extra assistance that it does give you. However, for guys like myself, getting back into the sport somewhat, I just found the full powered one was just a revelation, especially with the issues that I have now, and that's the massive hills. There's a track in Sydney called the Oaks Fire Trail, and at the end of it there's a massive, it is a massive climb out of the national park, and I've laid on the road halfway up because just pushing the damn bike, it was a problem. It's going to be interesting to see how this one goes. I think I just will be able to ride up the hill. And that's the sort of stuff that brings the joy back into cycling for guys like myself. But let's look at why I've bought what I've bought, the buying process, and where we're going from here. Now, going out to decide which bike to buy, really difficult. You get online on the keyboards, you watch some YouTube videos, and you go into your local bike shop or a few local bike shops. I'd honestly recommend that. For me, I'd go into shops and read a lot online and watch a lot of videos, as you do. And the Swiss Army knife of bike, the 150-160 millimeter suspension e-mountain bike, was the constant. This is what you need. This is what most people need. The thing that I took away though, after watching a lot of independent videos, was that every now and then the comment would be, the longer travel e-mountain bikes, there's not a lot of downsides nowadays. They climb well, they go down hills well, they ride well in general. Kind of took that on board, and my own experience with basically a 170mm pivot was that I like that amount of travel. I like the confidence that it gives me If I go down something and it turns out that there's a big washout or something, most of the time it will just plough through. I do like the fact that they're nice and planted on the trail. I'm not a big park guy anymore, and I suppose that sort of pulls me back from, you know, wanting to get massive air all the time. It takes far too long for me to heal nowadays, as I've found out a few times. But that's where I went with that. Thinking about longer travelling mountain bikes, you go down the geometry route, and we'll have a look at that in a moment. The other thing though that you really, I wanted to take into account was what motor package would I get, what electronics package. It's a really big thing with these things, because without that, these things aren't that great. So for me, there was Bros, there was Bosch, and there was Shimano motors. And if you look hard enough, you will find problems with all of the motors in general. I do know that Bosch has brought out a new electronics package, you know, over the past few months, and that's getting rave reviews. My problem with Bosch was that I was looking at a Trek, and as has been done online too before with personal bikes, putting a longer travel front fork on it and putting, you know, a different shock on it, basically gave you a nice long travel bike with a Bosch motor. The problem I had with the Trek was, at the price point I was looking at, I didn't get that upgraded electronics package, and the geometry was last year's model. It's not the updated geometry on the bikes that were $4,000 more. So that kind of took that motor out of the choice. With Bros, it was mainly specialised. There wasn't a lot of specialised bikes around, and it was also priced too, compared to what I could buy in a Shimano motor, the EP8. As much as I like the specialised bikes, with the Bros motor, it sort of pushed that out of the decision-making process too. So we were down to basically EP8 motored bikes, and that brought in the choice a lot. But then we looked at geometry. The thing that I did when I was trying to compare bikes was I put some stuff into a spreadsheet. It was quite interesting though. Say between the Range and the Specialised Canuvo, it was 1267 wheelbase on the Range, 1263 on the Canuvo. So we're talking 4 mils. Canuvo's running 27.5 inch rims. This is running 29. Head tube angle 63 on this, 64 on the Canuvo. Chainstay length 462 on this, 454 on the Canuvo. So it's 10 mil shorter, but we're talking 10 mils, it's not much. Seat tube angle 76.5 on this, 77 on the Canuvo. Reach is 445 on this and 470 on the Canuvo. For me, this is the type of reach that I like. I don't want a massive reach. And I don't need it on this because it has a slightly longer chainstay length. And Norco do work on the centering their riders on their bikes. Instead of trying to make the bikes poppy by having a short chainstay length, they've got some problems with packaging on this because they've tilted the motor to get the battery out without taking the motor out. There's not that much room they've got to play with here. So they've sort of standardised their chainstays. That's my opinion anyway. But it sort of drove me down the Norco is the bike for me path. Whittling it down to the Norco range, which one do I buy? There's 4 of them. There's 2 aluminium, 2 carbon bikes. The carbon bikes again were starting to ramp up in price compared to what I originally wanted to spend. So aluminium it is for me, and I don't mind aluminium on a mountain bike. If it was a road bike, yeah, I'd want carbon every day. The one thing I will say about the carbon bikes is that they're only a carbon front triangle. The chainstay is aluminium on the whole of them. And again, I'll say that I'm presuming the chainstay on all sizes, all models of the Range and Sight are probably the same chainstay. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're coming down to whittling down which one is for me. Between the A2 and A1, the aluminium versions, the A2, which is this, is the bargain basement version, I suppose. It's Zeb's on the front, it's got a Select Plus coil. I do like the fact it does have a sprung coil on it, so I can just change poundage on that if I need to. The medium comes with a 450 pound coil. I probably need to go to a 500 considering I'm 92 kilos. Norco have a really good little app on their website, whether you access it through the phone or whatever, where you choose the model that you've bought, put in your height and weight, and it'll give you a starting lot of settings. And they're pretty good. I've set up the front suspension to what they suggest. The rear, I've put my rebound to where they suggest. I'm going to order a new spring. They suggest a 550 spring for me. I think a 500 may be okay, but the springs are like $25, so cheap as chips to buy. So I'm going to try that and see how we go. With the A1, you get Fox 38. Very drawn to that. I don't know if I could have got one, but I was quite drawn to that because I do like the Fox 38. My issue though was from an aesthetic viewpoint. You don't get the Kashima. If you want the really blingy one, you go and buy it off the shelf and in the aftermarket. And that was part of the stuff that drove me towards buying the base model aluminium frame, that I can actually buy the stuff for it that I want. Group set on the A2 is basically 12-speed Dior, but it seems to work okay. I mean, I was a little bit dubious. It was like, oh, I don't know what this is going to be like. I'm not riding this thinking, I wish I would have stepped up the models. I'm pretty happy with this. The one thing I have found out though is this is a RockShox Zeb R, and it's what's used on OEM bikes. That can be upgraded to a RockShox Ultimate for, you know, $500 or something. So there is a step up if I wanted to step up, and that'll give you low speed adjustability. At the moment we've got rebound adjustability and air. It's got the Devon Air, and this is an e-mountain bike fork too. So it's not too bad. Another thing I've found out is that this is a fairly cheap dropper post on it. It's actually adjustable by 30 millimeters. You undo the collar, there's a plastic sleeve that comes out, you turn it around and you can adjust the extended height by 30 millimeters. So it's a 150 dropper, you can bring it down to 120, which is great because I don't need a 150 dropper, and I've brought it down to, I think I've brought it down to close to 120, 125. So when I hit the button, it goes up to exactly where I want the seat. So really chuffed with that. There's been some surprises with this, and I wasn't expecting those surprises. Brakes are 4-pot front and back. They're, you know, a base spec Shimano brake. They seem to work okay. Brake discs, they're centre lock. I probably will upgrade those. It'll be one of the first things I upgrade. But when you're looking at upgrading these parts, you know, even to upgrade to XTR brake discs, they're like, what, $120 or $130. They're not that expensive at all. And the good thing with Shimano is you can mix and match everything. The one thing I didn't like when I purchased this were the handlebars and the grips. The handlebars seem quite solid, and the grips were on the small and medium. You get a small diameter grip. On the large and extra large, you get a larger diameter grip. For me, I like a slightly larger diameter grip. I've replaced the grips with some rev grips, and I've changed the handlebar already to a Renthal fat bar carbon, which is a 35mm centre too. I'm actually chuffed. I wasn't expecting to be this happy with the group set on it and everything, but I am. On the down tube, there are 2 water bottle mounts. On the large and extra large, you can fit 2 water bottles. On the medium and small, you're only going to get 1, but you could put, you know, storage for a tube or whatever. The Stan's Flow rims, so far they seem okay. They are tubeless ready. You do get some tubeless goo to go in them, so, and a valve, so you can convert them to tubeless. Now with battery size, when you buy a Norco, you don't get a battery. It's not a one size fits all. They have a 540, I think it's a 730 and a 900 watt battery. The difference between the 700 and 900 watt battery is $200. I've chosen to go the 900 watt battery. There's a lot of talk about weight. I'm okay with that. I could lose 10 kilos quick smart, and I think that'd be far more worthwhile than trying to chase grams on this. With the 900 watt battery, I've run it from full down to the red mark on it, done about 130 kilometres on it so far. So for me, I can't believe the range on it. Although I did get range anxiety. I was close to home, I was about 5 kilometres from home, and I saw the red mark come out and the range anxiety just sunk in. It was like, how am I going to get home? I don't want to be driving this without, or riding this without any battery, but it got home fine. There was no dramas at all. That's about it for today. It's been raining here and it's been atrocious. If you know, you're in Australia and the eastern seaboard, you'll know what it's like. I did go out when I first got it and sort of poke my head down the trails. I didn't want to go down too far because I don't want to wreck the tracks for everyone, including myself. But going forward, hopefully next episode it'll dry up, we can get out there and do some stuff. Let's enjoy the thing. That's what we've got it for. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.